I shared last week about practicing or attempting to believe that I am the voice of God for this era. Turns out I can't do that. And I've come back to this thing around just believe because part of my old notebook perusal has taken me the past couple of days to September of 2024, where in another context I was told to just believe. And that context was just believe that I did not have to keep pushing and working and asking to make sure that rent was paid. And I didn't have to know how. I didn't have to understand how it was going to work. My job was to stop pushing. It was to just believe that it was going to somehow magically show up. And that's not my way. That has never been my way, even though I live in very magical expressions of the world. But one of the foundations that began that whole thing was when I was a few days old, when my parents took me home. My dad was holding me and I was trying to get him to hold the bottle, as one does. And in his frustration that he later shared with me, he decided then and there that I was going to be one of those people. One of those people who expected everyone to do everything for him. So keep in mind, days old. And also that this short story was shared with me when I was 44 or 45 years old. So after my father decided I was going to be a leech on him and society while I was days old, he put me on the floor and put the bottle out of my reach. And decided then and there that if I wanted that bottle, I would get it myself. So never mind the hyper independence that was learned as I navigated the early part of my life with tremendous physical, mental, and emotional abuse. My father set the stage prior to that, in that very moment, for how I would move through the rest of my life, at least up until a year-ish ago. So when energies, whether, say, they are the collective that is Abraham that lives within me. Yes, that Abraham, it's non-local. We'll talk more about that later. So whether it's Abraham or Jesus or whomever it was, telling me to just believe that it would show up, that I would be able to keep myself fed and housed. I'm like, yeah, no, it's already taken me decades to learn how to ask for help. There's never been this magical thinking or prosperity gospel-like line of, okay, if I perform in a certain approved way, then somehow I'm magically going to get my needs met. And so the context in September 2024 was focused on income, specifically for rent, but there were also broader conversations related to just believing, both with God and Jesus and others, around belief. Enough that I even had a short-lived experience, a spiritual / energetic one, where I did believe, like it didn't last long, but there were days where I believed. I just don't now. So when I told a friend yesterday, it's like, I'm leaning towards the notion that I am this thing. Like, I don't know what to call it because being myself isn't enough. Being myself, all of myself, within my own lived experiences is not enough for almost all of the energies in my world, including God. And there are others that will argue around that God isn't judging me, but I have receipts. Despite the fact that I say with some frequency to other people's behaviors, God does not judge. That's not what it's about. But over the course of the past year and a half, especially when Jesus comes through, that I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not believing enough. I'm not behaving enough of a way or in enough spiritual ways, especially if I try to create safety for myself around housing, food, and medicine and more things. And I'm like, what I said to this friend was that two of the primary reasons that I'm on the fence, though, is that A, if I'm meant to be proof that that the greatest love is real, why hasn't it been proven to me first? And B, why is this met with fear? Why are so many people afraid of me? Why do so many turn away? And if they believe, why are they ashamed or embarrassed or otherwise something or other, and they don't tell anybody? Like, they don't tell friends or family. Like the minister who told me a few years ago that he supported my book writing because he wanted others to see who you really are. Oh. Huh. Although, I mean, I kind of give a minister special dispensation because to have the awareness and encounters with that confront a ministry that is based on something else entirely is a lot. But otherwise, those who believe, 201, don't share their knowing with friends and family. Why? So if it was true, wouldn't they? The friend responded, well, if you don't believe and fill in the blank, and followed with this idea that folks have faith based on other people's convictions, which is true. It's not the entire truth, but yes, that's how that's one of the ways people are people-y, but it's also untrue. Like, hundreds of people have had experiences with me and have known in the moment and for an extended period after that the holiness that this being is real. And it didn't require me telling them. It didn't require me defining it. But all of this stuff has landed me on this just believing yesterday. And here's where I came around to just believing and why it doesn't work for me. There are folks who just believe that the earth is flat. They just believe that women's value is in their vaginas and that they're toys for other people's pleasure. They just believe little girls should be bought and sold until their vaginas aren't worth anything anymore. People just believe that brown-skinned people belong at the bottom of a caste system that places white folks on top. People just believe that causing harm is okay. They just believe that white is supreme. People just believe that rape is both righteous and a cheap weapon. People just believe wiping out entire communities, states, families is a perfectly acceptable form of exercising power or fear. People just believe they can love their family or their neighbor while beating them into submission. So for me, just believing in anything is a good part of what's gotten us as humans to this place. So I can't just believe I am this thing, especially if the foundation of this is absolute truth and honesty. And that what I've been told multiple times, straight from God itself, that I am the proof that the greatest love is real, then it needs to be proven to me first. So one of the clairaudient responses to my ramblings last night was like, well, so then what's proof enough for you? And I'm like, I don't really know. But it's kind of like Justice Brennan's definition of porn. I'll know it when I see it, and it will be enough. I do have the suspicion that part of that is somebody else believing, sharing that with others. And I'm like, oh shit, you put your ass on the line for it. Okay. However, whether I am this voice of God or not, I have a voice and I am putting it to use. I am putting it to use with this very particular focus on missing and murdered Indigenous women. I will share more about that in part 2. Peace in, y'all. I'm out for a minute.